Music producers, it's Curtis King of Airbit.com here today to explain to you whether or not you need a lot of sounds as a music producer to be successful as a music producer. Let's talk about it.
Airbit.com.
Music producers, when I came into the game, I was blessed with friends that love giving. And I had producer homies that, they were like, look, man, I'm about to bless you with all these sounds. Even my mom, she bought me drum kits. These drum kits that used to come in a DVD case. She bought them for me for a Christmas. And I remember, I'd never forget. I sat there with them drum kits and I was like, man, these sound so official. They were probably trash, but they sounded so official. And I was like, man, I'm about to go flip, I don't know, the Donnie Darko theme, the Tears for Fears Donnie Darko theme. And that's what I did. I ended up flipping that. And, that having that access to the sounds and the collection of sounds that I pretty much, got from friends over the years and that I've collected like Pokemon, what you find is that, and this is my opinion, having a whole lot of sounds is not always a good thing. I don't know if you ever heard of something called analysis paralysis, but this is basically where you have way too many things that you're analyzing to the point where you're not doing anything at all. So imagine having access to I had access to like 25 gigs worth of drums. More drums than I'll ever need in my whole production career, but I had access to it. And for a minute I felt powerful, like, man, I have the opportunity to use, a kick drum from Just Blaze drum kit, a snare from Ninth Wonders, and then maybe some hi-hats from the Neptunes kit, and then maybe I was mixing everything together and I was like, yo, this is the greatest thing in the world. But what happened was, over time, and it really wasn't a conscious decision, I just really stopped using a lot of drum kits. Unless I get real curious or I get in a beat rut, I just stopped using certain drum kits because they weren't producing the sound that I needed. And I had to work a lot on the EQ and a lot on the reverb and the effects to make it sound like something worth using. So, you may be getting discouraged as you're looking at your favorite, producer tutorials and you're like, man, do I need to have Omnisphere? Do I need to have that contact library? Do I need, you don't need anything except for what you need. And when you're starting off as a producer, do you have any sounds? If you got the stock sounds in FL Studio, I'm not gonna say that you won't make something amazing. I'm not gonna say that you will, but I'm saying that you have a starting point. And I always believe that before I upgraded into other equipment, I felt that I needed to outgrow the equipment first. I didn't need to just buy new stuff because I could afford to buy new stuff or because other producers are using it, because that's what happens when you're trying to keep up with everybody else. You're not really focusing on your own growth. Your story is different from everybody else's, so focus on your story. Focus on your circumstances. I remember the first time I started producing, I was producing on a PlayStation. And I got the PlayStation, people were laughing at me and they were like, man, no real producer uses PlayStation. But guess what? I made it work. Eventually, I wanted to upgrade the sound because I was like, man, I can't record, my microphone over to the TV for these beats anymore because it's lacking a low, bass frequency from this old TV that I had. And so I said, you know what? I need to find a way to, because I had a desktop computer at the time, find a way to get one of those drives that have auxiliary inputs on them and then basically take the audio directly from my PlayStation 1 into my computer. So I made the upgrade. I didn't go trying to go buy something that I didn't need. I needed that in order to get what I needed to get. And it was a really logical decision. Now, have I splurged on things I didn't need? Sure. I got MIDI controllers that I hardly even got use out of, and I got it for the pads and didn't even use the pads. I got a drum pad one time, ended up selling that to try to get some speakers, because at the end of the day, it didn't matter how great I was on the drums if I couldn't hear the quality of my sound. So for you, make logical decisions as you approach it and really understand, are you making a decision for your own growth or to try to keep up with somebody else? Because their journey is their journey, your journey is your journey, and I don't suggest you doing that. I think that you're growing at the speed that you need to. And if you feel like you need to increase that, find somebody to mirror, get around somebody, and I guarantee you, that mentor of yours, or that producer that you're gonna be mirroring, I guarantee you right now, they got probably like 5 or 6 go-to kits that they go to. So to answer that question, no, you don't need an abundance of sounds to make amazing beats and be successful, especially not in the beat leasing business, not in any bit. You don't need an abundance of sound. Now, is it great to have variety? Is it great to get exposed to new things? Absolutely, that's part of growth. But do you need them? No, and don't let that stop you from growing. Don't let that stop you from being a success you're supposed to be. Once again, it's Curtis King from Airbit.com. Have a good one.
Airbit.com.
Music producers, don't forget to subscribe to the Airbit channel right now.